So as some of you might know, I love me a V8 engine. I own a naturally aspirated V8, a supercharged V8, and I even have 2 turbo V8s. But today I've been handed a car that you can't even fill up with gas. You can't change the oil or the spark plugs in its engine. You can't do a reflash. It doesn't have a variable exhaust. Anyway, so today I'm gonna find out what exactly is it you can do with these so-called electric vehicles. And with that, I present to you the Jaguar I-Pace. They say that when buying an electric car, all of a sudden you have a lot more to think about, as in where to find a charging station, how much range do you have left, and so on. That brings us to assessing how idiot-proof this car is. So what does that mean exactly? Let's assume for a moment that I'm a moron. I get into the car, fire up the motor, or rather switch it on in this case. Then I push the D button, I get the car moving, and now I open the door. And for whatever reason, I decide to step out of the cabin. Meanwhile, the car is still moving. What's more important, the car is even picking up some speed. I can even shut the door. Oh, f***. Get back here. This means you can do some pretty silly stuff. Hang on. Looks like Jaguar is on point. Things are going according to plan. At least the car is still unlocked. Wait a minute. Does anybody have any idea where we're going? Now, can I open the trunk while the car is moving? Wait a second. No, I can't open the trunk on a moving car. You know what? I like this thing. It's quite comfortable to ride in. Wait a second. Can I steer? Yes, I can. Apparently, this is a car which forces you to think. If you don't, you're in for a lot of fun. Now let's try shutting it down on the move. That actually worked. Neutral and parking brake engaged. I'm actually disappointed. When I left the cabin and closed the door, it should have locked the doors and retracted the door handles. Now there's a perfect scenario right there. In our case, though, well done. This is a nice car. Let's go for a drive. Engage dynamic mode, and you're pretty much all set. Now we just drive. It has to have some sort of launch control. Let me just... That was a weird sensation. 4.8 seconds, and you're going 62 miles an hour. You can almost feel the front end. 4.9. 4.8 was the best result, same as advertised. When we film cars with 5-second times, it usually doesn't go like this. It's always so brutal. But here you just... Yeah, it goes. There's not much more to say. This thing flies. It is quite unusual. We even got the tires to chirp. It just picks up and goes. It feels like you're in some sort of computer game. I'm waiting to see a cartoon at the end. And the sound it makes is just... it's peculiar. It sounds pretty unusual, as if it's computer-generated and coming from the left side. It's quite curious and unusual, but... I mean, it's like watching a movie. After doing a bit of searching on the internet, I've learned that you can use this car for intercity driving. At the very least, this example has driven from St. Petersburg to Moscow on a couple of occasions. While charging at filling stations, which went ahead and installed some electric car chargers. That struck me as an interesting theory. So after building up some courage, I've decided to leave the city myself. I checked the map to find the nearest charging station, and it doesn't exist. There's not going to be a single charger along the way. So this leaves me with a range of 124 miles and 4,225 miles that we'll have to cover somehow or another. That said, since I am cunning enough to acquire an electric car, I'm smart enough to find a way to extract electricity literally from thin air. I have a plan. So we've made it to a parking lot where truckers tend to hang out. Every highway is littered with these sorts of lots, where you also find cafes and all of that. Now, this unsuspecting truck driver has left his vehicle to go enjoy some soup with meatballs and mashed potatoes. Meanwhile, we're going to be doing something that's not very legal. Now, these guys can transport me to any place in the country. After that, we stay silent and try not to give ourselves away. We just have to wait for the unsuspecting trucker to finish his soup, return, and start on his way to Bumfuck. Meanwhile, we'll be driving behind him and, well, watching a movie. Look at that, my range is actually increasing. I'm already seeing an increase. We've got some regeneration happening. Now that's pretty awesome. We're not only driving, we're basically refilling on the go. I'm already looking at 138 miles of range. So each mile we drive, the range increases by another 2 to 3 miles. That's some fancy technology right there. And now let me just press the brake pedal. And when I do that, that activates the regenerative braking system without using the brake pads. Pressing it a bit harder. We've got a full charge going. Fantastic. Curious to see how long it takes. Amazing. This I-Pace, man. I'm a big fan of these technologies. Can your car do this? Wait a minute. He just went off the exit. I want it to go that way. Looks like I didn't think this one through. I've got to unhook the car. And here I am tied to a semi-truck, which very well might keep going for another 500,000 miles? Okay, so it looks like this is the only way to hitch a new ride. In order to save electricity, we've decided to switch off the factory navigation system and use a traditional atlas. We seem to be forgetting what a beautiful country we live in. So here you can't drive as fast as you can on a highway, of course, but the scenery more than makes up for that. Though the range has gone down to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Only one hill to go. I can already see Bumfuck in the distance. We're right on course. Come on, car, just keep pulling, don't stop. This is slightly frightening. Let me just push myself off this tree. Okay, the batteries are almost flat. It's not reacting to throttle input. Just chill. Okay, we've lost power. We have no power. It isn't driving in reverse. Depress the brake pedal. Sure. Maybe we should try shutting it off and restarting it. Rebooting. Nope. It says please park in a safe place. Shut the car down. Charging system malfunction detected. We did it, gentlemen. We've drained the batteries. It actually can be done. Though it did take quite a while. It actually went some miles while indicating 0. Now it just puts the parking brake on. That's it, we're done. We can even engage reverse. It'll still activate the parking brake. That was full throttle. We can throw it into neutral. That's foot to the floor. At least the parking sensors still work. The steering wheel heater is fully functional. As for the heated seats, they also work. We're looking good. You can just spend the night right here. You think I'm scared? My evening is just getting started. Allow me to explain. So some of you, understandably, might think that we're in a bit of trouble, given that we've run out of juice some 3 miles away from bumfuck, and there's really nothing we can do. But in reality, you can drain the batteries or burn every drop of fuel in any sort of vehicle. I do a ton of driving with 0 range in other cars, so yeah. Even an internal combustion engine can leave you stranded. Typically, in a situation like that, you'd call in a friend with a jerry can. Or perhaps you've already brought one with you, knowing that you're in for a long drive. And we actually have one. Now, after we did that, as we all know, this thing will be accumulating range at a rate of about 6 miles for every hour. So now we have plenty of time to spare. I actually still don't know what's underneath this cover. You know what? I have to say, Jaguar is quite thorough when it comes to fully loading their cars.
Остаться 3 ступеньки от царства, 3 подковки от сивки, 3 копытца от братца. Мне сегодня прольется белой кошке в оконце лучик бисера пыли. Доброе утро, мне сегодня остаться 3 ступеньки от царства, 3 подковки от сивки, 3 копытца от братца.
So here's what I think. It seems like we've all but forgotten the beauty of camping. I haven't done this in like... or maybe even longer than that. This is nice. If it weren't for this Jag, when else would I get the opportunity to sit next to a campfire and enjoy some meat? Meanwhile, that generator over there is rattling away and filling up the car with that precious range. I'm feeling pretty good. This makes you feel alive. One of the benefits of having an I-Pace is the fact that you can switch the ignition and the heater on while the car is receiving a charge, meaning that I can sleep in a warm and cozy environment. There's about 3 hours worth of gas left in that generator. So tomorrow morning we wake up and check how much range we got, and then we move out, head towards bumfuck. Good night.
6 in the freaking morning, and we're looking at a total range of 33 miles. Time for you to wake up, Jag.
So as you can plainly see, there's always a way out. All that's left to do now is stow away the charging unit. I reckon we have enough range to make it now. 30-odd miles should be enough to make our way over to Bumfuck. Thank you, Jag. No swimming. Okay, so the Jaguar I-Pace is truly a trendy and stylish sort of electric fashion statement, which gets quite a bit of attention on the road. It accelerates to 62 in 4.8 seconds, and even when I'm behind the wheel, it's good for about 190 to 200 miles on a single charge. That's quite a lot, given how much I drive. You can charge it at a public charging station, or even at home from a standard power outlet. This car has plenty of talents. Today we even used it to drive to Bumfuck. However, despite all of the effort Jaguar put into designing this vehicle, at the end of the day, it's still an EV. In my estimation, this thing is somewhat flawed. My current car can drive me to any place in the world right now, if I so choose, and if I were to have the time and the funds. But the same thing would literally take a few years in this thing, with the charging process consuming most of those years of my life, which are drying up by the minute. And I really don't want to spend that time charging up this electric vehicle. I've also had a chat with a ton of my friends' wives, and we all know that wives tend to view a car as being an appliance, or driving you to the shops. Anyway, so it turns out that absolutely nobody is willing to take any detours to find a charging station, or generally adjust their life for this appliance to fit in. All of this means that an electric car isn't the type of vehicle for those who see a car as just a car. An electric car is a lifestyle changer, and a headache to a certain extent. Despite the fact that Jaguar did their best to iron out all of the drawbacks associated with owning an electric car, they weren't able to completely eliminate them. I'm actually grateful that this thing made it, and after 10 days of driving around in this car, I actually do sense a certain shift in my consciousness. I now realize what I need. And I'm no longer all about them V8s. Electric cars are actually pretty cool. Jaguar's engineering efforts were good enough to convince even me, a big advocate of V8 engines. However, for now, you'd be better off if you wait. Big thanks for watching this video. Good luck to all of you, and goodbye. Translation and voiceover by BMI Russian.